Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Georgian Surrogacy Podcast. I'm Liz Tripodi, and I hope that you are doing well wherever you are around the world. I've got a very special episode today, and today I'm chatting with the lovely Jane, who I actually know very little about, so I'm going to be getting to know her the same way that all of you will be. But this is going to be a very uh, special episode talking about Jane's story, who is currently in Tbilisi still with her family. And it's been a bit of a journey from what I have heard. So, Jane, I would like to welcome you to the Georgian Surrogacy Podcast.
Thank you.
And how are things going in Tbilisi? How are you? Are you okay? Most importantly.
Yeah, we're okay. We're, all healthy. Thank God for that. But we want to get home more than anything, and we don't even have a court date to get home.
All right.
Like we haven't gone through the court process at all. I think our rejection happens on Monday, and then we can file for a court date and stuff.
It's just, unfortunately, this is one of those cases where people hear a lot about, and look, they are fairly rare. They're not that common. However, it is really important that we let the community know that these things can happen. They do happen. And I really thank you for reaching out to me and wanting to share your story and wanting to bring awareness to this very important issue about what happens when things go wrong. Now, an important thing about this episode is we're not going to be mentioning any names of any clinics or anyone like that. I will make it mention, though, it is not uh, my employer, which I am very happy about. But Jane, let's take it back a step. So you're from the States, obviously.
Yes.
I won't.
I'm from the States, but my husband is from Ireland.
Okay, fantastic. So you're both married.
Mhm.
Yep, cool. Because we do know that sometimes in with Georgian cases, the couples don't need to be married. They can just be in a de facto relationship for a period of time. All right, so let's take it back a step. Tell me a little bit about how you found out about surrogacy in Georgia and what led you to Tbilisi.
Yeah, I learned about surrogacy quite early. I was 20 and I had to get a partial hysterectomy. And so I knew, then that my only route for having children would be surrogacy. And we had actually, when we got married, decided that we were going to do surrogacy in Ukraine originally because we
Okay,
had heard of a couple who did that and they had a fantastic experience and they had recommended their agency to us. But then COVID happened.
of course.
And so we didn't want to do that. We ended up going through the IVF process in the States because we had no idea how long COVID would last. And then we ended up, our first surrogacy journey was a domestic one in Texas.
Okay.
And then we were like, oh, we'll just do the next surrogacy journey in Ukraine or whatever. Well, then the war happened. And so as I was like Googling like where to do international surrogacy, now that Ukraine's not an option, Georgia was like the first country that popped up. And I was intrigued. I didn't really know anything about Georgia. But I found what I thought was a reputable agency online. Their website just like had pictures of their IVF doctor and like featured her in like news stories and everything. And she's like world-renowned IVF doctor. And so I was like, oh, well, if that's their IVF doctor and she's the best in Georgia, then obviously this is a great agency. Turns out she doesn't work just for that agency. She's contracted by like
Okay.
multiple agencies in Georgia. So, a little bit of false advertising, I thought. But
I
yeah,
must say, I
so
don't know a lot about the agency. Of course, I know who it is because we've spoken offline.
Right.
I don't know a lot about the agency that you have gone with, even though I've been in the surrogacy scene for such a long time. So it is fascinating to me to hear all this from, from you, from your perspective.
Yeah, I thought I did due diligence. Like, honestly, I saw the doctor on like every page of their website. And I didn't find out that she didn't just work for them until all of this happened later. Like, and we've been stuck here. But yeah, I was under the impression that like this was a solid agency because their IVF doctor was so amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of how we did it. And then in the States, our first journey in Texas was actually own egg. And that's how our oldest was born, our son. And I had,
How old is your son now?
he's 2.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. So I found out while we were doing like all of the egg retrievals that I have DOR,
Yep.
most likely due to the partial hysterectomy. Like I think it cuts off oxygen
Okay.
or something, and it had been like 5 years since I had gotten that done. So yeah, so we had a couple of other embryos, but they were like all mosaic,
Yep.
and we had them shipped along with we had done a cycle, a fresh egg retrieval cycle with an egg donor in America.
Okay.
Because for me, I thought it was important that our egg donors speak English
Yep.
in case our like future children ever wanted to like connect with them. I thought like a language barrier would be difficult. So um I wish I hadn't done that now, of course, but yeah, at the time, so then we shipped our embryos over, and it we started this process in March of 2022,
Okay.
and our first embryo transfer was scheduled for like November of 2022, and then the day of the embryo transfer, they tell me all of your paperwork's wrong, like we can't do this, you have to get us the right paperwork. And so it took a year to get the paperwork right, and they had an attorney.
They didn't, okay, so they didn't do this during the process
They
before you had
did, but
signed.
like I was sending them the documents, and their intake coordinator was like, great, yeah, looks great. And so they didn't have like an attorney or
Right.
a notary look at it until the day of the contract signing, which was like
Sure.
the day before the embryo transfer or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things I must say that I am so diligent about and always telling everybody about is you need to make sure that your paperwork is absolutely spot on, and any agency that just tells you straight up that it's fantastic without the back and forths and making sure that everything has been crossed, um, down to dates, down to spelling, down to specific wording, as you have unfortunately, come to realize now, it actually all makes a difference. So, all right, so it took then a year to get all the paperwork fixed.
Yeah, because we had to involve the US IVF clinic
Right.
who did uh the egg retrieval with the egg donors and stuff. So that was the hang up there. Like everything else was fine. Our power of attorney was fine. The egg donor's power of attorney was
Yep.
fine. It was the like the pre-freeze, I think they call it now. Yeah, and like our US IVF clinic didn't want to put in the donor's name because it was anonymous or it was supposed to be or whatever. And so there was like a lot of back and forth with them. And they finally included her name, but as it turns out, and that was accepted. Like a lot of back and forth between the Georgian attorney and the US IVF clinic, and they finally did it right. The Georgian attorney looked it over and was like, it's great. And we proceeded with an embryo transfer in November of 2023.
Okay. And do you have a son or a daughter that was born from this? pregnancy?
Another boy, another
Another boy.
son.
Congratulations. How is your 2-year-old enjoying being a big brother?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. He's sometimes, most of the time he like pretends like he doesn't exist.
Yep.
And then other times he like insists on seeing his toes is what he calls his feet.
Okay.
And so he'll
Yeah,
have us like unzip his little footies so
yeah,
he can
yeah.
play with his toes.
I love
Quite
that.
cute.
So
Yeah.
I know you're very deflated and exhausted, and very emotional at the moment, but basically you're stuck in Georgia and you don't know when you're going to be able to leave. That is the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Mhm.
I unfortunately know quite a few people from the past that have ended up in this same situation, all because of mistakes on paperwork. So when did you realize that your situation was going to leave you guys stuck there? Was it just after the birth? Was it when the have you got the birth certificate yet or no birth certificate? Oh, you still don't
No,
have
but
it. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that was gonna happen?
Um, it was like 3 or 4 days after we filed for the birth certificate at Justice House, and I got this text from Justice House, and I I don't know exactly what it said, but it I knew that something was wrong because it said I forget the words that it used, but it phonetically looked like egg donor
Okay.
and surrogacy and contract. And so I was like, oh, I wouldn't have expected to get a text or like any message outside of, hey, your birth certificate's ready, come pick it up, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and
Did
then
you
I
have a
started,
coordinator helping you with filing for the paperwork, or did you do it yourself?
no,
So
we
you were
had to,
pretty much
so
just basically they wiped their hands of you.
yes. And we did not know this. Oh, yeah, it was terrible. So when we actually delivered at Chava, and they so like no one told us anything. We were supposed to leave on Saturday morning, and all of a sudden, the OB comes in Friday afternoon at 4, and she's like, if you want to leave tomorrow morning, you need to get to Justice House before they close in an hour, to file for the birth certificate.
Okay.
And we're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And she was like, your coordinator should be coming any minute, meet them downstairs. They'll give you a packet of stuff and you need to like run to take it to Justice House. Um, so the coordinator came downstairs, didn't talk to us at all. She handed us the packet, and then I guess the OB was also on the phone with her, and she was trying to tell the coordinator to tell us stuff to do, and the coordinator just walked off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So then we're like in a panic, like, oh crap, like we need to, and then we didn't have an address for the place, so we started going the opposite direction, and we did end up making it, but so we did get released from the hospital the next morning. But yeah, our agency did nothing. They and they looking back at the contract now that we have an attorney who's helping us get home, she was like, there's nothing in this contract that says that they're responsible for any of the paperwork or
Can I
any
just
getting you
ask?
out of.
Obviously, they're still trading, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So their website's still live. They're still advertising services. I'm in shock. I can't look. I do know, from people that I know previously that have been stuck there. At least the coordinators and the agencies have been helpful and have actually been trying to help them through the process. You're the first person I've actually spoken to that the agency is basically. I'm just my heart breaks for you, and I'm absolutely disgusted. You've been now in Tbilisi for 3 months. I was there for 5.5. I know what it's like being away from home that long without your family around you. Without the comforts of home. Being and you've got a toddler as well. And I'm so sorry that you guys are going through this. And if there was something that I could do for you, I really wish that I could. Hopefully, we'll catch up when I'm in Tbilisi next month. I can
Yes.
take you out for a lunch, and hopefully I can help you. I don't know, just for a friendly face for But okay, so where are you at now? So there's no birth
So,
certificate still. There's no paperwork. And obviously, as some people may or may not know, without a birth certificate, you cannot go on to the next stages of getting out of the country because the child is born stateless. Without a birth certificate, the child has no country. So the birth certificate is the most important document that you can get from having a child via surrogacy overseas.
right. Yeah. So, we tried figuring stuff out on our own for a bit. And I was trying to get in contact with our agency. And I was like, look, I'm hearing that things, oh, that was the other thing. We went to Justice House, but there was such a language barrier
Yes.
that we had no idea what they were saying.
Yep.
Our agency wasn't coming to help us with that. I ended up having to find like a friend of someone's here who like translated for us. Like I brought my phone with me to Justice House and like had her talk to them so we could figure out exactly what was wrong with the paperwork. I found out that the agency didn't even give us all the paperwork and they couldn't find it either. Like they were missing the embryo transfer report
The embryo creation report, my guess is
and
as
the
well.
embryo
Yeah.
creation report, and they were missing, oh, and then the contract didn't mention the egg donor at all,
Yep.
and was missing a signature or something. So there was a lot of stuff wrong, and so I was contacting our agency and they ghosted me. They said that's not our problem, it's your problem. It's not our responsibility. And then that I ended up hiring a lawyer who's amazing. And I when I was reaching out to the agency just to let them know, like, hey, we hired this lawyer. They hadn't responded to the last few emails I had sent anyway. So I wasn't expecting a response, but then I get one and they're like, why would you hire a lawyer? That's such a waste of time and money. I was like, well, you're not helping
I'd
us,
be
so I don't
saying,
know.
let's not talk about wasting time and money, considering the years that they've already, put you through.
Right, yeah. So, and then I haven't heard back from him since. But so the attorney kind of laid out two paths for us. She said, path one, we get the US IVF clinic to issue the correct report with the correct information on it. And then we don't have to go to court. We can just like resubmit it to Justice House and you can get the birth certificate and go home.
Yep.
And then path two is we have to go to court and sue for the birth certificate, which I guess I I don't know if you've heard this, but I've recently the judges have been making IPs jump through more and more hoops to do
Yes, I do
that
know
because
that.
there's so much anti-surrogacy sentiment going around. Yeah. So we were like, oh, well, let's try to do path one then. So reached out to the US IVF clinic and they're like, we're only filling out this report if you get a signed notarized release from the egg donor,
Yep.
the anonymous American egg donor. And she has to include like her passport info and all that stuff. So I found our egg donor and I reached out to her. And initially she seemed willing to help. And then I think she just got freaked out by how much information was being asked of
Of
her.
course. Yep.
And so she ghosted us too.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. So we chased that down for
Can
like
I
four
just ask,
weeks.
did your agency ever tell you from the start that anonymous donors can't be used in Georgia? Did they ever tell you that?
They did, but then they said if she fills out this
There's ways
power of
around it.
attorney, it'd be okay. And so originally we went to the egg donor agency and they got her to do that. This was
Okay.
like only couple months after her donation.
Yep.
So once we came back with that, they were like, "Oh, then you're good to go."
All right. So
And
now
I thought
she's
that
goes.
was all we
So now
needed.
she's goes to due.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, what's next? So
Now
path
we're going to
two is
court.
yeah. So now path one's off the table. It's got to be path two.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you have court tomorrow. Is that right?
No, we
No.
have on tomorrow we get the rejection from
Okay.
Justice House for like not having submitted the proper documents in time. So we need the rejection before we can file the case, which I think our lawyer is doing on Tuesday.
Okay.
And then she didn't sound like we were gonna get a court date in the fall. She thought it was gonna be December
Mhm.
or possibly January.
Look,
So
I'd say realistically, I think from other cases that I know, it'll be after the election. There's no way it's going to be in October.
yeah.
I would say hopefully it would be before Christmas. Generally, once they've filed, I do know cases that have been within 4 to 6 weeks. So
Okay.
I do know that there have been a few that have been quite quick. So you might get lucky. Um,
Yeah.
I do know though that there's a really crappy thing that happens where they send out, they'll explain it to you like it's a social worker. Um, it's like a representative of the court or something, which is ridiculous because it's your child, but it's they just come and do a check type of thing. But I don't want you to get freaked out over that because it's not as scary as what it sounds or anything like that. It's just part
Yeah.
of their process. So, um, how are you coping in terms of work and your whole lives have been put on hold now for such a long time?
Yes, well, thankfully I didn't work before this, so I don't have to worry about my own stuff. And my husband has been able to do all of his work remote.
Thank goodness.
I've just been focusing on our toddler and our newborn. Well, almost not a newborn anymore, but yeah, I'd say really like the major disruptions have been to like just our normal routines at home, and then the complete lack of support here. Like we
Yeah.
have a lot of friends and family back home, and it would just, be nice to be able to tap into that. But we've had to do all of this alone and under a lot of stress. I would say like that's been the hardest thing. And like just like the thought that our child doesn't exist. Like my husband was trying to get him on our health insurance, and they're like, we can't do that unless you have a birth
Yeah.
certificate. And so he's like stateless, and I think
How have
they're
you
gonna
been
give him
managing the
organ.
pediatrician appointments? Because normally they require the birth certificate as well.
Yeah, we've just been showing up and being like, please, like,
Okay.
we don't have anything. Like he needs his vaccinations. Like, please
If there's
don't turn us
anything
away.
that I can do for you,
Yeah.
talk off air. Um, I might be able to get you some additional help. I'm hoping. And yeah, if there's anything I can do to help that from a medical perspective, I'd love to be able to help you through it with my connections in Tbilisi because it's you know you're coming up to a really crappy time of year. I mean, our girls were born in October, so I know what the weather's like there at the moment, and I know how cold it's going to get very soon as well. Are you comfortable in your apartment? Are you in a safe and secure building? Do you feel safe? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we did end up leaving like the city center, and we're still in the city, but we're like more in the outskirts towards like the sea, like the reservoir thing.
Nice. Yep.
Or yeah. So we have like a much bigger place here,
And the
much
air
cheaper than an
quality,
Airbnb.
the air quality is better as well.
Yes, I was so worried about that. And yeah, I would say the summer months also kind of like make the air in the city center a lot
Yeah.
worse. So yeah, it's nice out here though. It's quiet, which is
Have you
preferable
met
than
many expats? Is there anyone that you've
Yeah, so it's only been like texting so far, but I have something set up this afternoon and later this week with people. Honestly, I've been really depressed the last 2 months. And so I kind of like haven't really I know that we need to see other people and interact, but it's been so hard like getting anything on the calendar because a lot of days
You
I'm
don't want to leave.
struggling.
I get it.
Yeah.
You've got two children. You're in a country that's not yours. You're away from home. You've gone through the most extraordinary circumstances with no end date in sight. And I don't blame you in the slightest for feeling the way that you do. Um, Again, I'm happy to put you in touch with some people who might be able to help you with some help when you're ready. Um,
Yeah.
I understand that you're going to have good days and bad days, and I wish that there was more that we could do for you. I will chat with you off air about your attorney and make sure that you've got the right legal help in Georgia and stuff. There's a couple of really good sharks that I know that have helped other people as well. What do you want, apart from obviously getting the birth certificate and getting home? What do you want to see happen to the agency from this?
Honestly, I want to see them like out of business.
Yeah,
Um, like I think that what they've done is criminal.
yeah,
I mean, it's definitely negligent. Yes, our attorney pointed out that technically in the contract, there's no wording on how they're going to help us get out. But I have emails between me and them asking, what's the exit process look like? Like, how do we do this? And they say, oh, we provide all of these things to you. And yeah, I feel lied to. I feel they took advantage of our surrogate as well. The coordinators like took $500 away from her and said that she had to pay him a fee for whatever. So we ended up reimbursing her for that. And he also pulled the same thing with her, where he said, it's not my problem. It's not my responsibility. It's your problem. And so, like, the fact that he's used the same wording twice now,
yeah,
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they should be shut down.
yeah. Look, I agree with you from everything that you have said. And unfortunately, since COVID and since all the stuff happened in the Ukraine, there have been quite a few little agencies popping up that no one has ever heard of before. But they have the websites, the bells and whistles, the everything. And excuse me while I cough. And it's quite easy to be believed. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have become so passionate about being involved in the surrogacy international community is because I want people to know the truths and the pros and the cons. And for people going forward, you need to stick with the big three or four agencies that have been around for years and years and years, that you're speaking to people like me, like you, like other people that have actually had real journeys, and you can hear exactly what they've been through. Everyone's journey is different. But I think if you stick with one of the big ones, they're going, the big ones don't want their reputations to be lost by, one or two bad experiences. And of course, experienced with the paperwork, which is the key to all this. Um,
Right.
and from the start, it sounds like from the start, they had no idea what they were doing, and they didn't do their due diligence to start with your paperwork.
Yeah.
Which is really, really crappy to be in, really crappy situation. Is there anything else that you wanted to add and to share with everybody?
Um, I will say that can I like do like two shout outs for like good services we got and
Absolutely.
like name
Yeah.
them? Okay. So Arc Cryo is who we used to ship our
Yep.
embryos from Texas to Georgia, and absolutely amazing service. Our coordinator was
I've heard good
Natalia,
things. Yep.
and it was great. And then the other smooth part of our process was the delivery and the 4-day hospital stay at Chichava Clinic. That was also fantastic. The we opted to room with baby, and it was such a nice room. It was so spacious. The nurses were great. And I think I worked with the international coordinator. There, like she's the one who secured me the room, specifically one with like a mini fridge because I induced lactation, so I like needed somewhere to like keep all of my milk and stuff. And yeah, that those 4 days were amazing too.
Oh, look, I'm glad that it was a positive birth experience because, of course, they're the memories. I know that you won't forget what you're going through now, but the birth is something that you will never forget. And in a couple of years' time, you'll be like, remember when we got stuck in Tbilisi for months trying to get home? Even, uh, and I don't want to say to you that that's something easy to forget because I actually still think I have PTSD from all our experiences from quarantine and everything that happened to us. And I will say to you, just be kind to yourself. It's not your fault. Um, you've been blessed now with you've got two beautiful children, and this will pass. I promise you, this will pass. This is just another bump in the road on this crappy journey we call surrogacy. It is a bump that you shouldn't have had to go through, but I promise you, you will get there and you will get home, and everyone will be able to, get to see the beautiful family that you guys have created. And I look forward to meeting up with you when I'm there next month.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time. I will say to anyone who does want to reach out about this story, you can of course reach out to me privately online via all my channels, and I can possibly discuss with you. Jane and I are going to chat off air and talk about ways in which we might be able to give her some extra assistance as well in going forward. But Jane, I honestly want to wish you guys all the very best. And I thank you so much for sharing this
Thank
very
you for having me on.
time. You're very welcome. Take care of yourself and your family.
Thank you.